He was signed for $17 million. 1 year, a golden opportunity for him and for the Dodgers. Michael Conforto arrived in Los Angeles carrying the weight of expectation and the promise of being another strong link in the most powerful chain of the National League. But today, 2 months later, he has become exactly the opposite. A problem, a burden, a mistake the franchise might be about to fix in the harshest way possible. What happens when one of baseball's most ruthless organizations faces a player who simply does not deliver? That is the question hanging over the Dodgers locker room. And the answer, it seems, won't take long to come. Michael Conforto, a former All-Star, is going through one of the worst stretches of his career. With a batting average of just .162, 2 home runs, and 6 runs batted in over 154 plate appearances, he has become a blind spot in a lineup known for suffocating opponents. His OPS, which measures power and on-base presence, is alarming, .563. And the most recent sample is even more worrying. Just 1 hit in his last 17 attempts. This is no longer just a temporary slump. It's a collapse. Conforto's arrival made sense when the season began. With Tommy Edman, Teoscar Hernandez, and even Hye-Sung Kim still trying to find their rhythm, the Dodgers saw in Conforto a solid, reliable option with a history of high-level performance. But as journalist Kerry Miller from Bleacher Report wrote, time has passed. The other players have grown, and Conforto has been left behind. Today, he is what Miller calls, despite still playing at a high level, represents an element that sticks out in a lineup incredibly overloaded with talent. And the problem goes beyond the stats. It is philosophical. The Dodgers are in win now mode, and that mode doesn't allow for cracks. That is why, even without any official announcement, the atmosphere around Conforto's name is already one of the end of the line. Because if there is one thing the Dodgers management has made clear this season, it is that no one is above performance. They have already cut Austin Barnes, one of the oldest and most respected players on the team. Chris Taylor has also lost playing time. Both veterans, both with a history in the franchise, but both succumb to the silent rule that guides Los Angeles. If you're not helping, you're hurting. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Because here we break down what's behind the news, the subtext, the backstage. And you know it. In Dodgers baseball, every decision carries huge weight, and every mistake is costly. The situation is even more delicate because, according to Kerry Miller, Conforto's situation doesn't even allow for a trade. There is no market value. No team today would be interested in taking on a $17 million contract for a player with this level of production, and that drastically limits the options. The only real alternative starting to be considered is a release, exactly like the Astros did with Jose Abreu last June, swallowing the loss and letting the player move on. And here it's worth emphasizing, this is not baseless speculation. It is a direct reading of the reality described in the original report. There are no trade rumors in progress. There is no interest from other clubs. There is only one player collapsing and an impatient management. Behind the scenes, the math is starting to impose itself. The Dodgers currently have 10 solid outfielders on the roster. 11 if you count the recently promoted top prospect Dalton Rushing, who can also play left field. That means there are options. There is a hunger for space. And every at-bat by Conforto, when OPS of just .448 since April 6, starts to sound like a precious opportunity wasted. It is no longer about giving the player time. It is about not compromising the collective for a name that does not deliver. The rotation is sharp, the lineup is adjusted, and the season is flying by. That is why the question hanging over Chavez Ravine right now is not what to do with Conforto, but how much longer will they hesitate? And the fans are already divided. Some believe the talent can still be reborn, that the swing will click, that a hot streak could save him. But others say the time is up, that the player who was once a star is now just a shadow. and that keeping that shadow on the field costs wins. Real costs in the tightest race of the National League. And now I want to hear from you. If you were in the Dodgers front office, what would be your decision? Keep Michael Conforto or follow the Astros example and cut the losses right now. Comment below, because your opinion matters, and this debate is just beginning. And the ending, my friends, might surprise a lot of people. Surprise or shock. Because while Michael Conforto is losing ground within a roster that no longer forgives slumps, the Dodgers seem to be preparing something bigger. Much bigger. A move that, if realized, could change the course of the season and maybe even the next decade. But, like every good baseball story, this one also starts with a fall. Conforto arrived with fanfare, with the status of former All-Star and a $17 million contract. But what was supposed to be a solid piece in the championship machine has turned into a visible weak spot. And an annoying one, with a batting average of just .162, 2 home runs, and a miserable .563 OPS. He has become, as Kerry Miller aptly wrote, the piece that doesn't fit in the Dodgers' luxurious machinery. In the last 6 games, he has hit only 1 for 17, a number that speaks for itself. And in Los Angeles, where winning is not just a goal but a moral obligation, the time for patience is running out. Austin Barnes and Chris Taylor have already been cut. Veterans, historic names. And still, the front office did not hesitate. Because here, reputation doesn't guarantee a spot. Only performance does. And Conforto is not delivering. But perhaps the most important thing is not what is happening in Conforto. It is what his downfall is allowing to happen behind the scenes. While everyone looks at the field, at the cold statistics, the Dodgers are looking beyond, thinking ahead, and maybe using this moment to clear the way for something no one expected. A possible pursuit of Paul Skenes. Despite still playing at a high level, phenom from the Pirates represents a short-term, a 22-year-old cannon who, since his debut in May, has already established himself as one of the top 5 pitchers in all of MLB. A generational talent. The kind of player who not only changes the game, but changes the culture of a franchise. Officially, the Pirates say no, that there is no deal, that Skenes is untouchable. But unofficially, the story is different. A close source revealed that, behind the scenes, Pittsburgh might actually be willing to listen, to consider. And if there's a team with enough capital to open that door, that team is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Jim Bowden from The Athletic was the first to put on paper, to sketch the framework of a proposal. And it is no light offer. Dalton Rushing, the catcher of the future. Andy Pages, an outfielder who could be a starter right now. Jackson Ferris, a 21-year-old lefty with a very high ceiling. And Landon Knack, who could immediately join the Pirates rotation. 4 names. 4 real prospects. But on the other side, one certainty. Paul Skenes. A monster on the rise. An ace in the making. A name that, if he stays healthy, has everything it takes to be an all-star for a decade. And here comes a dilemma. The Dodgers know that in 2025, with Yamamoto, Snell, Ohtani, and Glasnow, they already have one of the most feared rotations in the league. But adding Skenes would be like putting a nuclear warhead on an already destructive force. It would mean 5 pitchers capable of dominating any lineup in any ballpark, from October to November. But there is more behind this. The possible departure of Conforto, for example, would open immediate space for Andy Pages, reinforcing the idea that this trade wouldn't be just for the future, but also for the present. And since Rushing is still blocked by Will Smith at catcher, the Dodgers know he's valuable, but perhaps more valuable as trade bait. The logic is clear. Trade surplus talent for critical needs. And the critical need is simple. A dominant pitcher. A new idol. A name that can take the Dodgers to a new level. A name that, no matter cost, can deliver immediate and lasting returns. On the Pirates side, the equation is different. They know Skenes is the kind of player who comes once in a generation, who can be the cornerstone of a solid rebuild. But they also know baseball is cruel. Injuries, pressure, wear and tear. Nothing is guaranteed. And when 4 high-level prospects come knocking, doubt creeps in. Because while the Dodgers are thinking rings, the Pirates are thinking identity, rebuilding, and maybe not repeating the mistakes of the past when they held on to their talents too long and ended up with nothing. And that is why this trade, though unlikely, is not impossible. And it might be closer than it seems. This is the kind of chess game the Dodgers excel at. Anticipating moves. Sacrificing pieces to win the whole board. And in this case, Conforto's fall might be just the first move of a much bigger strategy. Because when the Dodgers make unpopular decisions like cutting veterans, like benching all-stars, they are not just clearing space. They are positioning themselves. Positioning for something epic. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. Because this rumor is just the beginning. And in the coming weeks, the Dodgers could become the protagonists of the biggest move of the season. Now tell me, would you accept this trade if you were running the Dodgers? Rushing Pages, Ferris, and Knack for Paul Skenes? Or is that too high a price, even for a franchise with such a strong farm system? Comment below what you would do if you were the GM. And don't forget to leave a like if you want to see more deep analyses with behind-the-scenes strategy and real tension just like this.